Hey everybody, my name is Sam with Tank Tips, and welcome to my very first video. Today I'm going to be talking about basically everything you need to know to set up your very first freshwater aquarium. Okay, so this is probably going to be a long video. I'm going to try and keep it short, but it's going to be long because I'm going to cover everything you need to know, absolutely everything. Okay, so let's just get right into it. First thing is the aquarium. So when you're picking out an aquarium, there are mainly two things to consider: what size, and if you want a kit or if you want to just buy everything separate. So what I mean by that is a kit is basically an aquarium that comes with almost everything you need. So it will come with a filter, it will come with a heater, it will come with a light, it will come with a hood, come with a thermometer, maybe a net. And then separate is when you buy the aquarium separately, just the glass, and you buy all the other things you need: filters, heaters, pumps, gravel, etc. separately. Okay. So when it comes to size, you want to think about what kind of fish you're going to be keeping. So if you want something like I have back here, this is my 125 South American cichlid tank. I have Oscars in here. I have Severums in here. These Oscars, they look small now. They're probably about 2 to 3 inches, but they'll grow upwards of 15 to 16 inches in about a couple years. So you have to consider that when you're buying your aquarium. These Severums too. These Severums are probably like 5 inches right now. They'll probably get to like 7. Okay, so just make sure you know that when you're picking out your aquarium. If you're going to go with something like maybe neon tetras, they're probably not going to grow that much. Maybe they'll stay 1 to 2 inches. So you can get away with a 5-gallon, 10-gallon, etc. Okay? So I'm not going to go into too much detail on this just because there are so many different fish and so many different combinations. So if you guys, I'm pretty knowledgeable with freshwater. So if you guys have any questions about what kind of fish can I put in a 10-gallon, what kind of fish can I put in a 200-gallon, what kind of fish can I put in a 50-gallon, can I put neon tetras with chili rasboras? Can I put Oscars with plecos? Let me know. I will answer all of your questions and concerns in the comments. Okay? So, next, filters. So you have 3 options when it comes to a filter. You have the hang on the back filter, which is what I have on my 10-gallon Planta tank. Basically what it is it hangs on the back of your aquarium, as it is in the name, and it will pull water through it using an impeller, which is like basically a spinny rotary blade, and it will pull it straight through the sponges and out back into your aquarium. I don't like the hang on the bags just because you have to replace the cartridges every month, which is kind of annoying, and it also basically it might cause an ammonia spike because you're removing a lot of beneficial bacteria, and I'll get into that later. If you're not sure what ammonia is, beneficial bacteria, I'll get into that later. But they are included in most kits, so if you get one, that's fine. They're great. It's just they're my least favorite. Okay? Next, you have the sponge filter, which is probably my favorite filter. Okay? It's basically, it goes in your aquarium, it sits at the bottom, and it's just a round circular sponge connected to an external air pump. So you're going to have an air pump probably in your cabinet or under your tank on the floor. Okay? What it does is it shoots air through it, and while it shoots air through it, it pulls all the dirt and debris into the sponge, and it aerates your water, and I'll get into that more later. But it shoots bubbles through the sponge, so it's basically a bubbler and a filter in one, and they're super easy to clean, and they're super easy to maintain, and when you clean them, you don't have to replace any media, and when you clean them, most of your beneficial bacteria will stay in the sponge. Okay, so that if you're going with the buying your aquarium separately route, I would recommend getting a sponge filter. They are great. Next, you have the canister. So canisters are the biggest, they're the most expensive, but they are the best. So I have a canister on this one. It's a Fluval FX4. I'm planning on getting 2 Fluval FX6s once these fish grow bigger. Which is a lot of money. A Fluval FX4 is like $300. You can get it for $250, and FX6 is around $380, $400. So you have to bear that in mind when you're buying a canister. For anything 55 gallons and under, I wouldn't recommend a canister. I think it's a little overkill. If you're gonna go 75 gallons and higher, you can get away with a canister for sure. 75 gallons, I think, is the starting point. If you want a Fluval FX2, you could probably put one in there. FX4, I think, is a little overkill. It just depends what you're stocking in the tank. So if you're gonna have like a tank with like 4 Oscars in a 75 gallon, which I do not recommend, by the way, do not do that. But if you're gonna do that, you're gonna want probably a couple of FX6s on that tank, because when they get big, those Oscars are gonna poop a lot. Okay, so yeah. But if you're gonna do like maybe a 10-gallon betta tank, hang on the back filter's fine, sponge filter's fine. Don't put a canister on a 10-gallon. Doesn't make sense. Way too overkill. Canisters are definitely the quietest filters. I cannot hear mine. And they are pretty simple to maintain. I clean it once a month. I don't really have to replace any media, so it's great. Next, lighting. Lighting is pretty straightforward. If you're gonna get a kit, you're gonna get a light most of the time. Sometimes the light is pretty mediocre, like on the, I believe it's the Top Fin 5-gallon kit. The light sucks. In that case, I think you don't have to upgrade it, but if you want your tank to look nicer, and if maybe you want to grow some plants, upgrade it. If you're gonna go with the separate route where you buy everything separately, any light is fine, honestly. This one's powered by cheap aquarium lights, and it looks great in my opinion. So any light, as long as it fits your tank, should be good. Fluval, if you want to go overkill, Fluval makes the best lights. I love Fluval. I have a Fluval powering that tank. I have a Fluval powering my upstairs tank. They're great lights. So if you want to consider that, you can, but I don't think you need it, especially as a first timer. But if you have the extra cash, I don't see why not. That's basically it for lights. Next is heating. So if you're gonna buy a kit, you may get a heater, you may not. So you just make sure you read the box when you pick out your kit. If you don't, you can just get any heater that fits your tank. I'll put a guide in the description that tells you what kind of wattage you need for what tank. Some people recommend getting 2 heaters. I don't see, well, it's good for safety. So in case one heater dies, obviously your other one will heat. It's never happened to me personally, but if you want to be safe, go ahead, get 2 heaters. It's not going to overheat your tank because they're programmed to shut off once they hit a certain temperature. Okay, there's 2 types of heaters. There's the preset ones where it's just set to one temperature, and there's adjustable ones. Now, I say get the adjustable just because if you get a sick fish and you need to raise or lower the temperature, you can do that. You can't do that with a preset heater. Sometimes with, like, for instance, a disease called ick, where you get white spots all over your fish, you're going to have to raise your temperature, probably to 83 to 85 degrees. You can't do that with the preset heater. So just get the adjustable heaters. And also, if, let's say you have pretty harsh winters and it gets cold, and your tank is always running at 78 degrees. If your heater's set at 78 degrees and it gets super cold outside, that will affect the inside of your house too, and your tank might drop, so then you can't change it. So a mentality I like to go by in this hobby, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, is always buy the better thing first, because if you buy the cheap thing or the worst thing, you are going to regret it, and you're going to end up spending more money in the long run just buying the cheap thing and then the expensive thing when you could have just bought the expensive thing first. Okay, so don't cheap out on this hobby. These guys are animals too. They deserve our respect, they deserve our care. If we're making a commitment to care for these guys aren't a decoration. You want to give them the best life possible. So just make sure that you take all the precautions. Make sure that your fish are living well, okay? Next, here we have surface agitation and oxygenation. So, I don't know if you guys can see here, but the surface of my tank is always moving. That's because of this. This is a wave maker. And I also have my canister filter output on this side that makes waves. Now, you do not need these things if you're going to do a small tank. I'd say 40 gallons and under, you don't need this stuff. 55 gallons and up, you're going to need some wave makers. Why? because when the water is flat and still and there's no movement, you get a film that grows over the top of your top layer or the surface of your water. That film will prevent oxygen from entering your tank and your fish will suffocate and die. Okay? So the reason I have all this movement is because when the water's moving, that film will break up, oxygen can easily enter the tank, and you'll have nice, happy fish that are able to breathe. So make sure that you have enough oxygenation. If you're going for 40 gallons and under, like I said, the sponge filters, they make bubbles. They oxygenate your water. If you don't end up going the sponge filter route, hang-on bag filters are not enough, in my opinion. So they will make ripples, but not enough to fully oxygenate your tank. So make sure you get a separate bubbler or an air stone. You can get certain sizes for your tank. Like for this tank, I don't know if you guys see, but I have sponge filters and I have a bubble wall that came with the tank. Okay. They all provide great oxygenation for my fish. Yeah, that's basically it. Just make sure your surface is always moving and you'll have happy fish. With substrate, okay. So there's gravel and there's sand. Those are the two main substrates. There's also like bigger river stones, but I don't really recommend getting those. They're hard to clean and they're just they trap a lot of dirt and debris. With gravel, they also trap dirt and debris, but they're easier to clean and they don't trap as much because they're much smaller. I'd say as a beginner, I'd recommend gravel maybe for your first tank just because it's super easy to maintain, super easy to clean. It looks good. There's different colors. It's relatively cheaper in some cases than sand. But with this tank, I have sand. With that tank, I have gravel, but I'm planning on changing it to sand. I prefer sand just because it, I guess, holds more beneficial bacteria, which is what I'll get into, and it just looks a little more natural. In my opinion, I just like sand. But you can get gravel. There's nothing wrong with gravel. Nothing wrong with sand. Nothing wrong with either. You can get what you please. Sand is harder to clean, which is what I hate about it. But with this tank, I have two fish. They're called geophagus. Geophagus meaning earth eater. So you can see these two right here. These slim-bodied, silverish, grayish guys. Earth eater. So they're earth eaters. They go into the sand. They get a mouthful of it, and they sift through it looking for food, and they clean your sand, and then they release the sand through your gills to clean sand. So I haven't had to clean the sand in this tank once, which is awesome. My geophagus are always working. You might see it in this video how they just go down and just start eating the sand. It's really cool. Yeah, so that's basically it for substrate. Decor. So with decor, you have basically your rock, you have your wood, you have just your actual decorations like pirate ships, caves, maybe SpongeBob's house if you please. There's also plants. So I prefer a more natural route. So as you can see, I have this big piece of driftwood that my pleco is munching on. I have some dragonstone, and then I have these artificial plants because if I put real plants in here, they're gonna tear it up. They're cichlids, so they love eating plants. But with decor, honestly, it just depends on your fish. So let's say you have a betta fish, they really like densely planted tanks with some hiding spots, some caves, some rocks to hide behind. So just make sure you do some research when you're picking out your fish, see what kind of decor they like. With goldfish right here, I have no decor. I just have a couple of artificial plants in the corners, but that's about it because they're very clumsy. They're terrible swimmers. They will hurt themselves if you put some decor, especially jagged rocks like these. It will not be a good time for them, okay? But if you want, you guys can leave a question in the comments asking, will SpongeBob's house work with my betta, or will this cave work with my rummy nose tetra? So just let me know. I will be answering all comments. So yeah, just ask away. Let's see. Okay, test kits. So you have two types of test kits. You have test strips, which I hate and I'm completely against, and you have, for freshwater, you have the API Master Test Kit. Now, what I recommend is getting the API Master Test Kit right away. That way you could test your water, make sure it's suitable for your fish before you add any, and you can constantly test your water every time you do maintenance. Those things last you forever. I've had my Master Test Kit for about a year now, and I'm still using it. They are great. I love these things. With test strips, they are cheaper, but they are extremely inaccurate, and most of them don't test everything that you need. Okay, the API Master Test Kit is $50, $50, but it will test everything you need. Okay, absolutely everything. Yeah, just like I said earlier, buy the better thing first, because you're gonna buy test strips. They're gonna be garbage, and then you're gonna end up buying the Master Test Kit, and then you're gonna say, "Oh, why did I listen to Sam? Why did I listen to Sam?" You know? So just make sure that you buy the correct thing or the better thing right away. Okay. Next, water conditioner. This is extremely important. More people than you think miss out on this step, and then their fish die. Okay? So when you're setting up your tank, the water that you pour from the tap will have chlorine in it and chloramine. Okay? Those are both deadly to your fish. Your fish will die within hours, within an hour if you put them in there. Okay? I've personally never had that problem, but I know a lot of people that have, and it's not fun. Okay? So what a water conditioner does is it basically eradicates any and all chlorines and chloramines when you pour it in. You just follow the directions on the back of the bottle, you dose appropriately, and you will have no more chlorine. You have to do this every time you set up a new tank and every time you do a water change. Because when you do a water change, you're pouring new water in, which has chlorine. Okay? So, what I like to use, my favorite bottle, is Seachem Prime. I live by that stuff. Seachem Prime is amazing. Not only does it remove chlorine and condition your water, but it also makes ammonia and nitrite harmless to your fish. Those are both extremely toxic. I'll talk about it later in the nitrogen cycle. It doesn't remove them, but it detoxifies them. So if you have any present in your tank, it will make them harmless, and your fish will not get irritated or die from it. Okay? Next, food. So there's pelleted food, frozen food, and that's it. Okay? And flakes, sorry. Feed whatever your fish will eat. Okay? Try new things. Try pellets at first. I like pellets. I feed these guys pellets. They enjoy it. If your fish don't eat it, don't worry about it. Try flakes. Try frozen food, like frozen brine shrimp or frozen bloodworms. Okay? Fish eat different things. Like, I have a salt tank with clownfish in them, and they'll only eat frozen food. They don't eat pelleted food. So when it comes to brand, pick whatever your fish will eat. There's no bad brand per se. Okay, I feed Omega. I love Omega. They make great food. I heard Northridge is good as well. There's some other great brands. Hikari makes great quality food. Yeah, just pick whatever your fish will eat. In terms of scheduling for these guys, these cichlids I feed twice a day just because they're growing. I might switch that over to once they get big enough. And then I feed them brine shrimp or bloodworms on Sundays, as a treat, because sometimes fish get bored with what they eat every day. So, yeah, that's basically it for food. Just feed whatever your fish will eat. Now, this is the most important concept to memorize, the nitrogen cycle, okay? So, pay attention, okay, because this kills a lot of fish. A lot of people completely skip the nitrogen cycle, and their fish die, they leave the hobby, it ends bad. So, step one, or let me just go over how the nitrogen cycle works. So, let's say you set up your new tank, right? You put your new fish in there. It's uncycled, okay? That fish poops. That fish will be fine until it poops. Once it poops, you will have, poop is classified as waste. So you have poop, leftover food, dead plants, that's all waste. That would all get decomposed in your tank. Once that waste is there, you will have bacteria 1. It's called bacteria 1. It will eat that waste, consume it, and it will produce ammonia. Ammonia is extremely deadly for your fish. Extremely deadly. Even just small trace amounts will irritate them, hurt them, or kill them. So, that waste will turn into ammonia. Ammonia levels will rise. Okay. The way ammonia is measured is when you're testing with your master test kit that you're going to get, not the test strips, is parts per million. So let's say you have 1,000,000 particles in your tank and you have 3 parts per million ammonia. That means 3 of those 1,000,000 particles are ammonia, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. 3 parts per million will kill any fish in that tank. Okay? 1 parts per million will probably irritate them. It may kill them. So you always want 0 parts per million ammonia. Okay? That ammonia will rise from bacteria 1. Bacteria 1 will eat the waste, turn it into ammonia. Once your ammonia is up, bacteria 2 will start growing. It will eat that ammonia, turn it into nitrite. Your ammonia will drop to 0. Your nitrite will rise. Okay, nitrite is a little less deadly, but it's still deadly for your fish. This is your nitrite. Once your nitrite is up, bacteria 3 will come around. Okay, it will eat the nitrite and turn it into nitrate with an A. Okay, that's it. Nitrate is the end of the cycle. So you have your waste, turns into ammonia, turns into nitrite, which turns into nitrate. That's it. That's where the cycle ends. Okay. When you have a cycle tank, you will have enough of bacteria 1, 2, and 3 to quickly turn the food into ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate without even being detected by a test. Okay. So your plan is to have 0 ammonia, 0 nitrite. Nitrate is not deadly for your fish unless there's a ton of it. So, for instance, I water change at 40 ppm. Okay, fish can handle higher than that, but I wouldn't recommend waiting higher than that. 40 ppm is when you should change your water, get rid of some of those nitrates. Okay, so when you're changing your water, you will, let's say you have 30 ppm nitrate. If you do a 33% water change, so it's taking out 33% of your water and putting fresh water in from the tap, which you will condition with C-Chem Prime, okay, that will bring your nitrate from 30 to 20. So then your nitrate's going to rise again throughout the week. You have to do another water change, bring it down. It will rise, you got to bring it down, etc. Okay, it's a never-ending cycle. You do your water change every week. Okay. You cannot skip your water changes. If you skip your water changes, your fish may get irritated or they may die. You do not want that, okay? So, another way to get rid of nitrates, which is what I like, is adding tons of plants to your tank, okay? My planted tank upstairs, I have a 10-gallon community planted tank. It's extremely densely planted. I have plants all over the tank. I don't have to do any water changes. My nitrates are 0. Ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate is 0 always. The only maintenance I have to do on that tank is occasional glass scrubbing when the algae gets too much, and I just have to top off the water that evaporated. Super simple. The reason I don't do these tanks is because the fish eat them. So I have to do water changes on these tanks. It sucks, but it's something you have to do to make sure your fish stay alive. I don't like doing water changes, but I know I have to do it. Okay, so. Now let's just talk about how to cycle your tank. How do you do it? So, there's 2 ways. Fish in and fish out. When you're doing fish in, which I do not recommend for a beginner, but if you really want to do it, if you're impatient and can't wait to have a fish in your tank, which is what I do. I did that. This is what you do. You set up your tank day 1. Do not buy your fish day 1 because you're going to be stressed. You're going to be quickly setting up your tank. It's not going to be how you like it. Your fish is going to be stressed because it's going to be in a bag for hours. So day 1, just buy everything you need. Buy your heater, your tank, buy all your lights. You buy your gravel, decorations, whatever. Everything that I talked about, okay? Set up your tank. Make sure you like it, okay? Fill it with water. Put your conditioner. You're going to have a new tank, but it's going to be uncycled, okay? What you do is on day 2, you go to the fish store. Don't go to Petco or PetSmart to buy your fish, please. Please don't go to Petco or PetSmart. They always have sick fish. They always have dead fish. They have mistreated fish. go to your local pet store, look up good local fish stores in your area that are like mom and pop fish stores, like family owned fish stores, okay? You're going to be spending a couple more dollars, but you're going to be getting extremely high quality fish, okay? You acclimate that fish. So when you're acclimating, take the bag that they gave you, drop it in your tank with the bag, okay? The bag has to be closed for about 30 minutes to an hour. I do it 30 minutes. I think that's good enough, just so the temperature in the bag matches the temperature in the tank. So when you drop them in, they don't get shock and die, okay? So when your fish is in the tank, what you do is you buy a bottle of beneficial bacteria. This is the bacteria one that I was talking about. You can buy them in bottles. I like Dr. Tim's. It's always worked great for me. There are some other brands, but Dr. Tim's I think is the best. Just dump the whole bottle in, okay? Make sure that when you're buying the bottle, it's enough for your tank. So sometimes they have a bottle for 30-gallon tank, for 60-gallon tank, for 100-gallon tank. And then you just dump everything in with the fish. So when you put your fish in, take the bottle, dump everything in. That bacteria is going to eat the poop that your fish makes, and it's going to eat the ammonia that your fish makes a little quicker. So that way you just jumpstart your process. So that way you don't have to wait weeks for that bacteria to start growing, okay? Well, what you also do is take your Chem Prime, which I talked about earlier, that binds the ammonia and the nitrite and makes it safe for your fish. It will still be in your tank, but it will be safe. You dose for your tank every day. So let's say I believe it's 1 milliliter for 10 gallons. So if you have a 10-gallon tank, you will dose 1 milliliter every day. Okay? You will test your water every day. Every day that you have ammonia or nitrite, you will add Chem Prime. This method is the most expensive and it is the most tedious, but it is the quickest. You can cycle a tank within a week. Okay? Now, when it comes to your ammonia and your nitrite spikes, if you have higher than 1 ppm ammonia, Chem Prime, a dose, so let's say you're dosing 1 milliliter for that 10-gallon tank, will defend against 1 ppm of ammonia or 1 ppm of nitrite. Okay? If you have 2 ppm of ammonia, you're going to double dose. So you're going to put 2 milliliters in that 10-gallon. You can go all the way up to 5 times the dose with Chem Prime, and it will be safe. You're probably never going to need to do that. I've never done that, and the most I've done is 3 when I had 3 ppm nitrite. But yeah, so you're going to test. Every day, this is what you're going to do. You're going to wake up. You're going to test ammonia, nitrite. If you have traces of ammonia and nitrite, you will dose. Anything higher than 1 ppm, let's say 2 ppm, you will double dose. 3 ppm, you will triple dose. 4 ppm, quadruple dose, etc. Okay? Then, once your nitrite is gone, once your ammonia and your nitrite is gone, you will test your nitrate. If you have nitrate, you are cycled. What I would recommend is do not add more fish right away, okay? Wait a few more days, keep dosing just in case. If you consistently have nitrates and your nitrate is slowly increasing, you're cycled, okay? When feeding throughout this process, you're going to feed once every 2 days. You're going to skip a day. So you're going to feed, let's say in the morning, let's say you feed on Monday, you're going to skip Tuesday, and you're going to feed Wednesday. You're going to skip Thursday, you're going to feed Friday, etc. You will not skip your prime, and you will not skip your testing, okay? This is why I don't recommend this, is because it's a lot of work for someone that's just getting into fish keeping. But you will have the quickest results. And you will have a fish in the tank day too, which is nice. Okay? When you are cycled, you're done. You can add more fish. Don't add a bunch of fish right away. So if you have a 10-gallon tank and you have 1 fish in there, you could probably add 2 more once you're cycled. Because if you add, let's say, 10 fish, you're going to have a ton of waste that your bacteria population in that tank cannot handle. You're going to have ammonia. You're going to have nitrite. Your fish are going to die. Okay? So add 2 fish, test your water in a few days, see if you're getting any spikes. If you're not, add a couple more fish. It's all a waiting game. You have to be very patient with fish keeping, okay? You have to make sure that you don't have these ammonia and nitrites, okay? Next, the fish out cycle, which is safer. It's similar, it's just you don't have a fish in there. So what you're going to do is instead of adding a fish, you're going to add food. Every day you're going to add food. This is called ghost feeding. So food, like I said, is a waste. It's a source of ammonia. So you're going to have your food. It's going to turn into ammonia, like I said. That ammonia is going to turn into nitrite. And that nitrite is going to turn into nitrate. Okay? When you are adding your food, you don't have to dose prime because there's no fish in there to protect. Okay? You can save your prime. You're going to test every 3 to 4 days. You don't have to test every day because there's no fish, like I said, nothing to protect. Same thing, you're going to test every 3 to 4 days. Once you have no more ammonia, no more nitrite, and your nitrate is slowly going up, you're cycled. This process usually takes closer to a month, I'd say. I don't like doing it just because of how long it takes, but it's what I recommend for a beginner, okay? It's longer, but you won't be under the stress of just being thrown into a fish in cycle right away, okay? And like I said, once you're cycled, add 1 to 2 fish, see how your cycle does, test your water. If you're good, in a few more days, add a couple more fish, etc. Yeah, that's basically the entire nitrogen cycle. It's simple once you get to know it. I know that was a lot of information I just threw at you, but I've been doing this for years, and I got the nitrogen cycle down. I know what I'm doing, so I do fish in cycles with all my tanks. It's worked for me. I've never lost a fish to it. So just make sure that you are following my directions step by step, and you will not have a dead fish. But I recommend going with a fish out cycle for a beginner, okay? Now, you got through the hard part. Now is the fun part. What kind of fish are you going to put in your tank, okay? This is something you should also consider when picking out your tank. So if you're saying, I want to do neon tetras, I like how they look, red and blue, they add some pop to my tank. You don't have to go with a huge tank. You can easily fit 5 to 10 neon tetras in a 5-gallon, okay? They're awesome schooling fish. They have cool behaviors. They always hang out together. They're really cool to watch. If you're going to go as a beginner with an Oscar, which I don't recommend, you could. They're not harder to take care of. They just require a much bigger commitment, okay? So I have 2 Oscars in this tank. This guy right here, this black guy with orange spots, and I have a white Oscar in here. There he is in the corner. They get huge. Like I said, 15 to 16 inches when they're adults. So for 1 Oscar, you're going to need a 75-gallon minimum. 125 like this is perfect. You can fit 2 to 3 Oscars easily if you're just going to keep Oscars. So with cichlids, they're more aggressive. You have to find who's compatible with who. There's African cichlids, which you don't want to mix with these South and Central American cichlids, okay? There's a lot to it, okay? You can have a community tank. So for a community tank, I recommend a 10-gallon, 20 gallons, perfect. You can have like dwarf gouramis, tetras, rasboras, mollies, cordy catfish, African dwarf frogs. They'll all do great together. Maybe even some shrimp if you want. Now, goldfish, which is what I have in this 40 breeder right here. They require a bigger tank. I have 4 in here right now, but I'm planning on upgrading to a 60 or a 75 soon, just because a couple of the fish are a little smaller and I can handle the bioload right now. They have enough space. But with goldfish, I'd recommend 20 gallons per fish. If you're going to keep 1 goldfish, I'd say go 30 gallons, just because these fancy goldfish get huge, 7 to 8 inches, sometimes 9 inches. And that in a 20-gallon is just not good, okay? If you're going to go with 2 goldfish, you can do a 30-gallon easily. 2 goldfish, 40-gallon. 60-gallon, 3 to 4. 5 goldfish even is fine, okay? Some people are way more stricter with goldfish. They say, like, 20 gallons per fish, but I don't really see why you would do that. Sorry about my dogs, they go crazy sometimes. But yeah, I don't really see why you would do that. Just make sure they have enough room to swim, that they're not bumping into each other all the time, and that the tank is big enough that you can handle the bioload, okay? They poop a lot, so yeah. With a cleanup crew, so like I was saying, I have the geophagus in here that sift through my sand. I have a plecostomus in here that will clean the glass, that will clean my driftwood, clean my rocks. So there are many different fish for a cleanup crew. Cory catfish are great for community tanks. Plecos, I would, for a common pleco, 125 gallons is minimum for those guys. They get huge, 1 to 2 feet. So they look small in the store. They're probably going to be like this big when you buy them, but they will get huge very quickly. So make sure you have an appropriate sized tank. If you're going to get a 125, you can get a pleco. Anything lower, you can't get a pleco, okay? There are some other plecos, like the bristlenose pleco. They're called dwarf plecos. Bristlenose plecos, there's some other plecos, I forget what they're called, but they get 7 to 8 inches, 55 gallons is good enough for them, okay? Shrimp. Let's say you want to have a shrimp only tank, which are awesome. I actually kind of want to get one for my desk. 3 gallons, 2 gallons, good, you're good. You can go with a 5 gallon if you want, 10 gallon. You can put a bunch of shrimp in there. It's gonna be awesome. Shrimp have cool behaviors. They like crawl around. They eat a bunch of algae. They look super cool. When it comes to fish, the smallest tank that I would put a fish in is a 5 gallon. Okay, but make sure that fish doesn't get huge. Okay. Yeah, that's about it. I believe I've covered everything. So if you guys have any questions or concerns, just leave them in the comments. I will be answering them, okay? Any fish compatibility questions, any tank size questions, anything at all. I've been doing this for years. I know what I'm doing, so just leave them in the comments and I'll help you out. Yeah, I hope this video helped you guys. Welcome to the community. It's a great community. You guys will enjoy it a lot if you stick with it. Yeah, I will be posting more videos soon. I believe my next video is going to be about why cichlids are the best freshwater fish. Just stay tuned for that. If you liked the video, leave it a like. If you didn't like it, dislike it. Tell me why. Yeah. Take care, you guys. I hope to see you guys in the next video.